How would you feel if your mum vanished and then got found washed up on the shores of a beach decapitated? It would be a shock, right? Well, how would you feel if their body got found by psychic medium rather than the police? Have you ever heard of Debbie Malone? She's a psychic who has been working with law enforcement agencies to help solve some of the most complex murder cases out there. Yes, you sure did hear that right. A psychic woman who is also a bad boss who solves crime but sadly makes bad sandwiches. It might sound like it is just a rumor to you, but Debbie's work is very real and has helped bring justice to many victims and their families. In this video, we will explore the fascinating world of psychic investigation and learn how Debbie's unique abilities have helped solve some of the most baffling murder cases of our time. So, call your wife, get her to make a sandwich. Let's hope it's better than Psychic Debbie's, and get ready for an eye-opening ride. Want 3 free predictions about your life? Claim a free reading using the link below. Case number 1. In February 2003, Maria Scott, a prostitute, went missing. Due to her occupation, her case was brushed aside by authorities as a suicide and did not receive much investigation. For 5 years, Scott's whereabouts remained a mystery until 2008, when the case was reopened and Australian spirit medium, Debbie Malone, was brought in to help. Malone's unique abilities as a psychic medium were soon put to the test when she channeled Scott's ghost. Malone was given a bangle that had been found on Scott's body, hoping that it would help her provide some insight into the case. Surprisingly, just by holding the object, Malone was able to pick up specific details about the case. Malone revealed that Scott had been murdered by stab wounds on an Australian farm. This vital information led authorities directly to Scott's body, where the murder weapon, a knife, was also discovered. The discovery of Scott's body was a significant breakthrough in the case that had remained unsolved for years. During her consultation with the detectives on the Maria Scott case, Debbie Malone made a strange revelation. She told them that she could feel the spirit of the killer walking through her. This was unusual because Malone normally experienced this sensation only when communicating with ghosts. Her statement helped to confirm the authorities' suspicion that Mark Brown was the perpetrator of the crime. The reason for this was that Mark Brown had been a suspect in the case from the beginning. His suicide 4 years prior to Malone's involvement in the case had fueled speculation that he was involved in the murder. When Malone stated that she could feel the spirit of the killer walking through her, it added to the mounting evidence against Brown. This revelation helped investigators close the case for good. Case number 2. The discovery of an unidentified skeleton in St Helens Park, a suburb in Sydney's southwest, left investigators puzzled since its discovery in May 2001. Despite years of investigation, authorities were unable to determine the victim's identity or those responsible for his death. That is when Detective Inspector Matt Kraft decided to enlist the help of Debbie Malone. Malone witnessed the final moments of the victim's life in a vision. She saw 3 men pushing and shoving a 4th man outside a green warehouse, with the attack quickly escalating into slaps, punches, and eventually, a fatal stabbing. She followed the attackers as they transported the victim's body to a remote location and dumped it against a tree stump before fleeing the scene. The victim turned out to be an egg farmer with a small frame and was no match for his attackers. As Malone conducted her reading, she was drawn to a tree trunk in a nearby gully where the remains were discovered. She claimed to sense the victim's presence and described his appearance, including a flannelette shirt, King G trousers, black boots, high cheekbones, sleepy eyes, and brown, straight hair. Forensic evidence suggests the man died in the mid-1980s, and Malone believes he was murdered after a dispute within the egg industry. It was a dramatic end to the case that was finally closed due to Malone's visions. Before we move on and tell you about another mind-blowing case solved by Debbie, if you've liked the video so far, consider subscribing, as we frequently upload such interesting astrology videos. And while you are at it, give this video a big thumbs up. Let's continue. Case number 3. In January 1982, Lynn Dawson, a registered nurse and devoted mother of 2, disappeared from her home in Bayview, Sydney. Her husband, Chris Dawson, a school teacher, told authorities that Lynn had walked out on him and their marriage. However, their marriage was in trouble. with Chris having an affair with a babysitter and former student, Joanne Curtis. Following Lynn Dawson's disappearance, Joanne Curtis moved into the family's home and became the stepmother of the couple's two daughters, Chanel and Sharon. Curtis later married Chris, and they had a daughter named Kristen. At the same time, police kept searching for Lynn. But despite extensive searches, Lynn was never found, and the case remained unsolved for years. Two coroners eventually ruled that Lynn was likely dead and recommended that her husband be prosecuted for her murder. Chris has always denied any involvement in his wife's disappearance and has never been charged with any crime. In 2003, an episode of ABC Australian's story about Lynn's disappearance aired, and psychic medium Debbie Malone claims she felt an immediate connection with Lynn after watching it. Malone claims that Lynn began speaking to her and providing her with details about her disappearance and ultimate fate. Malone believes that Lynn was murdered and buried under lime and carpet on the Bayview property she shared with her husband, possibly near a retaining wall. Malone has also suggested that Lynn can see her husband's public distress over being blamed for her murder and is enjoying the spectacle. Despite her claims and the recommendations of the coroners, Chris Dawson has never been charged with Lynn's murder. Malone has also worked with Lynn's family to help them find answers about what happened to their loved one. These were just some of the most important cases Debbie Malone solved for the police. There are many more where her psychic abilities helped bring closure to the families of those who lost someone. Have you followed any other cases solved by Debbie Malone? Share with us in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.